friends, and welcome to a new Beauty and the Boutique video with me, Katie, professional makeup artist, stylist and founder of online store beautyandtheboutique.com. If you want to take a look, the link is below. Today we're joined by my sister. This is Tammie, and Tammie is a personal development coach. So hi Tam.
Hi, nice to be with you and thanks for having me, Beauty and the Boutique.
And I thought it would be really good for me and hopefully for you to talk about imperfections and how to deal with our imperfections, how to embrace them, and if we can't embrace them, how to make peace with them. I don't know if you're new to Beauty and the Boutique, you might not know about what I struggle with, but or you might have been with us for some time and not know, but I'm going to share what I struggle with, and then maybe you feel the same about an imperfection that you have. So for me, I've struggled from the age of 18, and I'm 40 now, with a skin disease called psoriasis, and times of my life it's covered most my body apart from my face. And other times I get a little bit of remission and it just kind of stays on my legs. But I can't get my words out. It actually makes my mouth dry when I talk about having psoriasis, because when I look in the mirror, obviously when I've got my clothes on, I don't see it. But if I'm trying on swimwear, or if I'm just getting changed and the mirror's there, I really don't like what I see in the mirror, because I just see lots of red marks. And especially sometimes I've thought about going on holiday and thinking, oh, I'm going to be on the beach, or I'm going to be by a pool. In the months and weeks leading up to that holiday, I will literally dread the holiday for fear of people seeing my skin. And my husband obviously hears me, all these insecurities in the lead up, and I really struggle with coming to terms with suffering from psoriasis. And perhaps you at home have something that plays on your mind when you look in the mirror. And I just thought, Tam, how can we make peace with these, our perceived imperfections? Because ultimately it is really what the kind of pressure and the thoughts that we have on ourselves, rather than what other people are thinking. I feel like we all look at ourselves and see something that we're unhappy with, and to others, they probably think, well, how could you be unhappy? I can't notice that about you. So, kind of get real and get a grip. But to us, when we look in the mirror and we see something that we're not happy with, it's, it can really affect our self-esteem.
Yeah, that's very true, Katie. And I think you've really hit the nail on the head there, as in it's often what we're actually thinking internally, which dictates everything else which is happening externally and making us feel in a certain way. So like Katie, when you were saying about just talking about your skin condition, psoriasis, makes your throat dry up, it makes you have physical emotions. You start to feel things in your body physically, externally, because of what is happening in your brain, in your internal self. So I like to call this our chatterbox, just to kind of phrase it as something. So inside all of us, we all have thoughts, thousands and thousands of thoughts each second. So that is all triggered by our chatterbox. So whatever we're telling ourselves and whatever's sort of processing through our heads is what is dictating what happens externally. But now the fantastic thing is once we can identify our chatterboxes and understand what they're telling us, if we can identify that they're telling us more negative things and more worrying things, then we know that we can obviously take a grip on this and potentially tell that chatterbox to tone it down a bit, because often our chatterbox will tell us things that are quite damaging, that make us nervous, that make us anxious, and this unfolds in potentially a day, could be a week, could be months of kind of self-destruction. So it's about understanding our chatterboxes, what our chatterbox sounds like, and how we can tone it down.
I really can understand when you say a chatterbox, because, well, apart from constantly chatting to myself, well, actually I don't chat out loud, but I do talk to myself a lot about, I am a worrier. I'm a terrible worrier, but when I think of my psoriasis, the first kind of chatterbox moment that comes to my head is, what are people going to think of me? What will they think when they see my skin? Will I repulse people? Will they think they can catch psoriasis? Will they not want to stand near me? And I realise at home, most of you won't have psoriasis or anything, maybe nothing to do with your skin, but it could be something else that's in your head that you're worried about. I mean, I can't stop thinking about what other people would think about, even though I think, people can say, well, just don't worry about what people think. And I think, well, yeah, I don't want to worry about what people think, but I can't help it.
That's really common, what you're experiencing there. And there are always sort of two sides of the mind. That one is saying, oh, don't worry, and the other one saying, but I have to worry. And that's absolutely natural. So you might find that you have something that you're unsettled about, or that makes you feel difficult. And the really interesting thing is, and the science behind why we have these kind of thoughts, is that the brain is basically retrieving and having to cope with millions of pieces of data every minute. So if you could think of the brain like a computer, it's a big operating system. So whatever we are internalizing to our brains or telling our brains, that is exactly what the brain will look to do. So guess what? Here's the really positive bit. If we can feed our brain more positivity and more facts and more truths, or more things that make us feel in control, then the brain will naturally start to receive those messages and start to pay us back twofold, and pay us back with a more settled feeling, pay us back with more positivity, and thus kind of going on from there.
I love that. So does that mean that and I'll just be honest, like if I look in the mirror with my underwear on, or not to get too graphic because no one likes to visualize that, but I'd be thinking, I'd look in the mirror and I'll be honest, I'd feel fake, say, I love what I see. Like I would be feeling like I'd be lying to myself, because I'd be seeing all these scars and all these red patches. Are you saying that I have to kind of fake it until I make it, to be almost like, yeah, I love myself, and then my brain will reward me? Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, a sample of that. Not as, I mean, that isn't always possible, obviously, to look at us as, I'm wonderful, I'm this, I'm that, because we all have good days and we all have bad days. But the key thing is the brain works in wonderful ways, and if we can look at ourselves, say, Kate, you gave us an example of being in your underwear, looking in the mirror. If we're aware of something on our bodies that we're not very happy with, the brain will know that, because these are messages that we've sent our brain previously, and the brain will naturally focus into those parts of our body. I'll give you an example. So if I woke up one morning and I thought, oh, goodness me, I need to lose weight, I need to go on a diet, then my brain that day will naturally, in my day-to-day, if I'm out in a shopping centre, if I'm going into a cafe, if I'm going into work, my brain will naturally focus in to people who are naturally slimmer than myself.
Oh, okay? Really? Almost absolutely. To make yourself feel worse.
Yes, it's just about keeping it really simple, and perhaps starting your day looking in the mirror and, acknowledging that there's certain, things about you which you're not very happy about, or that make you feel unsettled, but it's taking a 360 view and thinking, is there anything within me or on my physical self which I can hone into that makes me feel really good about myself? So it might be that you look at your whole self and think, well, do you know what, my hair's not so good today, but I really like my lipstick that I'm wearing today.
And that's good. That's going to love my lipstick.
And that's going to be, that's going to be my little confidence boost for the day, because guess what? Everyone looks at your mouth when you're talking, and people notice that about you. And maybe if you're wearing, like a bright lip colour, somebody might comment and pay you a compliment, and then suddenly,
makes you feel better.
Exactly, and our amazing brains then switch to that and think, oh, somebody paid me a compliment, I'm feeling really good about that. So it's about being really realistic, and it's about looking at our whole self, and just recognising that when that chatterbox is being very self-critical, can we tone it down a bit, address it, and even think to ourselves, if our chatterbox was a person, how would we address it? What might we say to that chatterbox to encourage it to stop criticising us?
Yeah, well, what would we say? Would I just be like, shut up?
Well, maybe. What would you say? That's a really good question. So if your chatterbox was a person, how would you ask it to stop criticising you?
Can I be honest?
Yeah.
Because I think I'd probably, and this is probably a little bit of my hang up, but I'd probably say to it, I probably wouldn't want to tone it down, because in my head I'd be thinking, oh, but that chatterbox is keeping me safe because it keeps all my clothes on and not worrying about, you know, like if I go on a beach, I've got a sarong on, I've got dark glasses, I just hope I don't see anyone I know. And I think that fear of what people will think of me keeps me safe, because then if I saw someone that I knew round the pool or on a beach, if I saw someone and they saw me with my skin, then, well, they might not recognise me, so it's kept me safe from... I don't know, that's a bit mixed up, isn't it? But
no, it isn't mixed up at all, as in that is exactly what your brain is designed to do.
Yeah.
You know, we self-preservate. As human beings, we all want to self-preservate and keep ourselves safe. So you're very accustomed to and in a habit of keeping yourself safe. So that's why you perhaps, Katie, find it difficult to address your chatterbox.
Yeah.
But for people watching the video, just feel really brave, feel powerful, and think to yourself, just ask yourself the question, if my chatterbox was a person, how might I ask it to stop criticising me? You know, you might wish to be very polite about it, you might be a bit more impolite, but it's a really honest question to use to kind of to think about how you might address it. And once you've answered that question for yourself, you can absolutely use that each time that you begin to feel that you are being quite critical of yourself, because there's nothing fun about feeling like a victim.
Oh my gosh,
there's
no.
Nothing...
And I don't want to be a victim.
Exactly, and who wants to be a victim? So when we begin to self-criticise, we make ourselves naturally become a victim. And there's nothing better than feeling in control and taking control and feeling powerful. And feeling powerful allows us to not feel like a victim.
Yeah, I love that. Can I share something that I do that works for me, but it's like a muscle. I actually have to practice it to kind of remember to do it, and the more I do it, it gets better. Yeah. So, because I do find it hard to tell my chatterbox criticizer to kind of be quiet, because I do feel like, oh, it keeps me safe a little bit. But so what I do is I feed myself positive things. So, for example, I think, I like my hair colour.
Brilliant.
Have a hair colour change. I can't quite like that at the moment.
Fantastic. Yeah, like that.
I think, I like the fact that, all right, I don't like the skin on my legs, but I like the shape of my legs.
Fantastic.
I think things like, I don't know, I'm basically saying I pick out points that I do like, and I really try hard to think of those things that I like about myself. And I think if I try and think of enough, and it doesn't come easy, because I'm not someone that looks at myself and think, oh, I look nice. I'm not that kind of person. I look in the mirror and think, that will do. Possible. But if I do really flex that muscle, it's almost like I have to have 4 positives that then override that 1 negative.
Yeah, fantastic. And if that's your way of flexing that muscle and conditioning that muscle, then that is a really, really great technique that Katie has, that you've personally developed, and it really works for you. So maybe you could yourselves, at home, sort of think about how you can make something work for yourself in that way. And Katie's saying that, looking in the mirror and being like, oh, that will do. That's what makes you, as in that's what makes you very personable and great to get along with. So that's actually to your credit as well.
I remember when I first started doing YouTube, and I used to do makeovers, but I'd always leave a little bit of concealer on, because I do look really tired and very ill, for want of a better word, without any makeup on. So I used to leave a little bit of concealer on, and then one day I just thought, no, what the hell, I'm going to take all my makeup off. And I did this video with, well, I don't know, you might have even seen it. I took off all my makeup and I did this video and I put it out there, and I felt really empowered by that, because I felt like saying, no, actually,
Yeah.
this is the real me.
Yeah.
You know,
And the reason that you probably felt empowered is because you took control.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Because I felt like I wasn't worried about what people thought. So I thought, actually, I'm a nice person. Well, I hope people think I'm a nice person. I've got good morals. You know, I don't ever set out to hurt anyone.
No.
You know, and I thought, it did actually make me feel empowered. So that would be the psychology behind it. That I took control.
Yes. So as soon as we take control, we regain power. If we're powerful, we can make great decisions. If we're powerful, we can move forward. If we're powerful, we don't feel like a victim. So what it's about saying to that chatterbox, you're not going to be my bossy boss.
No.
I'm the boss of me.
Yeah.
And actually, I'm going to be very powerful today, and I'm going to decide how my day goes, how my week goes, how my year goes, so on and so forth.
I love it. High five.
High five.
Boom. Well, I hope you've taken something from this conversation. You might be sat at home thinking you can relate to it, you can't relate to it. I hope you've taken something, and I hope this video helps you. And thanks, Tam. I really enjoyed that chat, and it's given me lots to think about, and I feel really empowered to take more control.
Yeah, well,
I might just take all my makeup off now. I might show you all my psoriasis.
Well, thank you very much for having me, and it's really great to share good information with all your lovely followers. So thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
See you soon, and thank you so much for watching. Bye.
Bye.